Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
About 7 years ago, I was interested in diversifying my rental portfolio a bit and buying a few properties out of state. And my guests on the show today helped me do it. Terry, you run a really incredible company called MidSouth Home Buyers. Can you walk us through what your company does?
Sure. So we are a turnkey real estate seller. And at its heart, what that means is we buy distressed properties. We do a full-blown top-to-bottom gut job renovation. We place a well-qualified resident in the property, and then we sell those houses to our repeat investor buyers that are looking for a cash-flowing investment property, and we manage those properties for the investors that purchase from us for the long term.
I've bought 4 properties from Terry, and honestly, it's the easiest thing I've ever done. Terry and his team literally take care of every little detail. On the podcast today, we're going to see what it's like to buy an out-of-state turnkey property. We'll talk about what Terry's properties are like, what the neighborhoods are like. We'll talk about the little things that they do to make sure that their properties are profitable, and we'll take a look at one of my deals and go over all my numbers. Joining us on the show today from Memphis, Tennessee are Terry Kerr and Liz Nowlin. We'll take a quick break to thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Terry and Liz. It's a lot of work to find a really good rental property. And when you actually find that property, you want to make sure you're working with a lender that can get that loan closed. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors finance rental properties. She has a ton of loan programs, and she can find something customized to you for your situation. If you want to find out more or you're ready to get started today, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056.
Rental Income Podcast.
All right, let's start at the very beginning. So, Terry, when you buy a property, what is it that you're looking for?
We're looking for a property that needs everything. We're not looking for a property that needs a little bit of paint and carpet. We want the properties that have lots of distress on them. We want to be able to rip off the roof, gut the kitchen, gut the bathroom, update all the plumbing, update the electrical, and just do the whole 9 yards. And really, we like the houses that scare other folks off, because when we're done with a rehab, everything is new. So it's not like buying something, like I said, that just needs carpet and paint, where you've got a lot of age on the major components. When we get finished with a property, it's like we just built a brand new house.
I would say, Dan, that on top of that, our goal is to provide the purchasing investor the highest monthly cash flow possible. And so we're going to back into that acquisition by what's going to provide that, which means it's going to be our sweet spot of a peaceful, stable neighborhood with low taxes and low purchase prices and high rental demand, where people with good working class jobs want to rent.
And what I love about it is that really, as an investor, you don't need any skills. Like, you don't need to know how to find a really good deal. You don't have to know how to rehab a property. You guys literally take care of everything.
Yep. And actually, the reason we got into this side of the business is because when I was buying to hold myself, I bumped into a friend of mine who had a lot more experience than I did. And he wanted to buy the houses that I was rehabbing to hold myself and buy them from me. And I asked him, why would you want to do that? And he said, because he doesn't have enough time to buy them and fix them up and get them rented himself. And so we ended up doing some business together. And all of a sudden the light bulb went off. And ever since, we've been passing bargains on to bargain hunters.
And that lack of expertise needed to a degree, I just can't overstate how much we love helping people that are just getting their feet wet in the investment world and letting them sort of stand on the shoulders, so to speak, of our 22 plus year history in the business, and it's all the way through from the choice of Sherwin-Williams paint or long-term, light fixtures that last, down to I'm obsessive about working with the lenders that get you the best interest rate, closing attorneys that are going to give you the good title work and title insurance. We even get investors quotes for homeowners insurance from the people that we use as a courtesy during the process. I help folks that are renting in Santa Monica or Manhattan make their first real estate purchase in life sometimes, and so we're really kind of plug and play in that way.
The other thing that I liked after going down there was that the houses just seem very simple. Like a lot of them are one-level houses. They're on a slab. Can you speak to the housing stock in Memphis?
Sure. Well, we've got houses that range from, smaller 2-bedroom houses, of course, to the big McMansions. And, we like houses, we like a brick house on a slab, but they're not all like that. But the reality is you want to find the sweet spot of the neighborhood and the sweet spot of the size of the house. So our bread and butter are 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 3 1.5s, the occasional 3 2, and that is just the style of house that fits the cash flow model in Memphis, Tennessee. And it's also nice not to have a big house when the houses inevitably, but occasionally turn over. Because when you've got a smaller house, the expenses of the turnover aren't as big either.
Yeah, and Memphis is blessed with a lot of really our default construction style is a very low maintenance one. There's a cool website, a cool video on our website, MidSouthHomebuyers.com, where we tour you through a home that we've just acquired. Talking about the buy side, through a home that's partially renovated, through a home that the renovation is complete. And when Terry is standing in front of this home that's been vacant for 10 years, the grass is knee high. I think the roof has a hole in it to the sky. That brick looks, it's a completely neglected home, and those aluminum windows are perfectly in shape. The brick is perfectly in shape. And then it's kind of neat. There's a drone shot that pulls out, and you actually see how nice the other roofs in the neighborhood are. And because Memphis is kind of interesting, where we will have that one dilapidated house at the end of a really cute street. And I think that video can sum it up for people kind of in their own eyes in a good way.
It seems like everything that you do is geared towards making the investor profitable. And there's a lot of little things that you do that really make a big difference, like with the keys that you use to rekey the house, or the light fixtures. Can you tell me about some of these little things that you do?
Sure, absolutely. You mentioned the keys. So we use easy rekey locks. So we don't, and our investor owners don't have the expense of a locksmith. Whenever the property turnover. To the light fixtures, we used to use the typical jelly jar light fixtures that are rental grade. But you have to unscrew the jelly jar light fixtures, and they tend to get dropped or broken. And so you'd see houses driving down the street where there's just a light bulb with no housing. And so, we upgraded to light fixtures where you can just stick your hand up into a better looking light fixture. So it's a lot of little things. So there is no one big major thing, but we renovate our houses to make sure that they're going to perform long-term for the investors from a repair standpoint. And then from a management standpoint, we take the same approach with our residents, because at the end of the day, you got to provide value to the residents and the property to make the deal work.
Yeah, we also don't charge application fees to the renters, which gives us a giant pool of renters to choose from. We don't mark up maintenance to our investors. That's huge. So that's a pass through at whatever the property management company paid that technician to do the repair, and whatever the property management company paid for, say, that gallon of paint is what's billed through to the investor. So that is directly related to the fact that as a management company, we are very interested in the fact that you are happy that you purchased that home.
Yeah. And I mean, my personal expenses have been really low. I mean, everything that you promised turned out to be true. But the other thing that I think really makes a big difference is that you don't have a lot of vacancy. With my properties, whenever we do have a turnover, it's always rented out very quickly. How much vacancy do you typically have on I guess, across the whole portfolio?
We're really fortunate. We're right at the 98.5% mark, and it's going to fluctuate during the holidays. People don't move as much. And then in the summer, it's a little different. But on average, we're at 98.5%. And I'm happy to say that that's definitely way higher than the industry average. I'm not sure if there's another property management company that can say that, and there are a lot of reasons for that, Dan. As Liz mentioned, we don't charge application fees, which means we get a larger pool of folks to choose from. We've got a compassionate collections team. You don't pay, you can't stay, but we spend the money to staff up to where we can give really good customer service to the residents, and we're also very quick to respond if a water heater goes out, or if an HVAC system needs to be serviced. Because if you can provide value to the resident, they're going to renew the lease, and lease renewals is the name of the game.
Yeah. And you can be at 98% occupied, but have a lot of turnover. But our average renter stays almost 4 years. 3 years and 8 months is the average across our 5,000 house portfolio. 2 years is industry average for rentals. So we're near double. We have several hundred residents that have been with us for over 10 years, and I think of over 1,000 that have been with us for over 5 years out of that portfolio. And then on the speed, we average, we track everything. We're very systematized. And I believe it's like 29.67824 days between move in and move out. So that's not less than 30 days to get it ready. It's not less than 30 days to deposit. That's door to door, rent check to rent check. About 30 days is our company average.
Normally, when someone buys a house, that's it. The seller's done. The seller gets their money. They move on. But what's unique is that the way you guys have things set up is that you sell the house, but then you're still involved. You're still managing the property. And something that gave me a lot of comfort buying my first property from you guys was that you have several guarantees. Can you talk about the guarantees that you offer every house you sell?
Absolutely. So we have the longest maintenance warranty in the industry at a full year. Important to note that is in-house. That's not like some American Home Shield warranty where if your renter's hot water goes out, you're left calling a warranty. There's no trip charges. There's no service charges. If something breaks related to our renovation in that first year, we're just going to fix it and fix it fast. As a coincidence sort of to our really deep renovation, your major electricals, your brand new water heater, brand new furnace, and brand new water heater, and that's on every house, happens to have a 5-year manufacturer's guarantee. But then one of our, I think, most interesting and unique guarantees is our lifetime occupancy warranty that says that if your property were ever vacant for more than 90 days, we would start paying you the rent on that house on the 91st day on. There's no time limit on that. If we are the managers of your property, 15 years from when you bought it, that guarantee is in place. And sometimes when I'm on the phone with like new investors, Dan, they're kind of asking me about details about what that might look like to kick in and this and that. And I end up explaining to them that really, it's not that it ever kicks in. It doesn't. That warranty doesn't cost us any money. It's to let your listeners, the investors, know that our rents are real. Mm-hmm. One of the places the bodies are buried in this industry is that sellers of rental property will inflate their rents to support a higher purchase price. And particularly when a lot of investors are from California and New York and high cost of living areas, they couldn't know that that house should be renting for $1,025, not $1,050. But renters will move out over $25, especially if you're not fixing stuff for them or being competitive in the market. And so really it's a way of letting you know that, hey, if you're buying a house that rents for, $1,100 from us, that's a real rent. That's a rent that makes the phone ring off the hook with qualified renters. And so that's a lot of what that guarantee is about for us.
Yeah. I mean, I think I had a lot of these same questions when I first spoke to you before I bought my first property from you guys, but the thing that that I really liked, in addition to everything that you guys do with the properties, is the employment in Memphis. That there seems to be a lot of jobs. It seems to be a great place for tenants. Can you tell me about the local economy and what the employment is like?
Sure. So we're very fortunate in Memphis that we're in the 98th percentile of cities that rent. Memphis has FedEx, UPS. We've got a huge Nike hub here. It's a logistics town, right? And these outfits pay real good money. So folks without higher education can graduate from high school and go get a really nice, stable, relatively high paying job for the education level with good benefits. And they just tend to be good, solid working class renters. So very blessed to be born and raised in Memphis and just to have that organically.
One of my favorite things about that as our main industry here as an investor myself is the absolute stability of it. So like if you think about Detroit as a working class blue collar town and some of what happened when that industry left, with distribution being the heartbeat of the town, and it was, for 200 years, it predates FedEx. It's because of our geography. And there is just no, China, Mexico is never going to be able to get a package from New York to LA cheaper than we can. It's a very hard industry to ever leave us because it's just literally related to our geography. We're the third largest confluence of rail in the U.S. You have barges going up and down the Mississippi. Highway 40 runs coast to coast. If any of your listeners ever come and visit us on one of our group tours, they're going to see so many FedEx planes parked at the airport. We drive over so many train tracks, and you see so many semis as we cruise through town and look at houses. And it's really because of all that employment for our renters.
And so most of your buyers don't go down there to check out the properties, right?
Oh man, I wish they would, but I understand why. But I'd say probably 97% of our buyers, unfortunately, we never get the chance to meet, and so we incentivize your listeners and anyone who's interested in us to come visit us by discounting their first purchase by $500. So we'd just love to get to meet folks, hear their story, shake their hands, and show them, what makes Memphis a great city for cash flowing investment properties and what makes MidSouth home buyers different than the rest of the folks out there.
Yeah, we do tours 11 months out of the year. There's a little come visit us section on our website where you can see the tour schedule and sign up. And Memphis is a really fun town. Consult your tax professional, but for most people, the visit can be a tax write-off and on top of the closing cost credit. And if you're a touch it, see it, smell it person, well, heck, Dan, you came and visited us, so you know. And it tends to push people's confidence through the roof when they really see our neighborhoods and our renovation.
Let's talk about my visit down there. So the very first thing that you showed me was your warehouse, and I was really impressed by the warehouse. Can you explain how the warehouse is set up and what the purpose of it is?
Sure. Well, the warehouse is set up to make us more efficient on our rehabs, so we can afford to pay more for houses, so we can get more houses to rehab. But it's also set up for the maintenance of all the houses we manage. And the warehouse concept came about when about 12 years ago, when our then rehab supervisor and office manager, who were married, went on vacation together, and I had to manage and dispatch all the technicians. And I immediately saw how inefficient it was for the technicians to have to run to Home Depot and then to Lowe's and then somewhere else looking for a specific part for a water heater or whatnot. And so the concept was born because we don't want our investors to have to pay labor for maintenance technicians to drive around and look for all the parts, because so now we've got them all in house. And when the phone rings and we know that a thermocouple has likely gone out on a 40-gallon Bradford White gas water heater, then that part is pulled for the technician. And when they come in, it's waiting there for them. And they gather up all the materials for all the work orders that they have on their plate for the day and are super duper efficient.
Yeah, I mean, that just makes so much sense. And I'm sure you get really good discounts on all the materials because you're buying in bulk.
Yep, we do. We do. And it's one of the things that allows us to put more money into the rehab, which gives a better product to the resident, a better product to the investor, and again, creates that the lease renewals that we were talking about.
Yeah, it's truly a double-edged benefit. You've got the direct investor benefit of that if somebody's working on my water heater and they have to stop and go wait in line at Home Depot, that's on my dime. They're not doing that in their personal time. But the other part of it is that, if Mrs. Smith calls in a work order on her way to work that morning, 9 times out of 10, she's going to come home from work and have a hot water to bathe their kids with or what have you. We ask every renter that comes to us why they're leaving their current situation. And the answer is my landlord won't fix anything, over and over again. And so some of that 4-year stay on our renter side actually does come back to the warehouse because we fix stuff faster that way.
Let's talk about the first property that I bought from you guys. So, Liz, I think you've got the numbers there in front of you. Yeah. How much did I pay for that first property?
It was you closed on January 3rd of 2017, and it was $88,000, and the rent was $950.
So, how much, if I were to sell that house today, how much would that house be worth?
The house you paid $88,000 for would sell for $155,000 to $160,000 easily and quickly.
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
That's reflecting that the rent that was $950 when you bought it is today, as you know, Dan, $1,450.
All right, well, let's take a look at some expenses and see if everything that you guys were talking about is true here. So last year, if we look at the entire year, how much did I spend on expenses?
Let's see here. You grossed $17,400 and you netted almost $15,000 at $14,921. So was that $2,900?
Okay. And so that includes the property management fee, which is 10% of the rent, and then a couple of small repairs that came up.
Yep, about $2,500 in management fees and a couple of repairs there.
All right, so tell me again what my net was.
$14,921.
$14,921. Okay, so the way it works is that you collect the rent, any repairs or anything that comes out of that, you take that off the top. So it's not like I have to send you money if the water heater goes or something. You just take that out of the rent. So $14,921 is what you sent to me last year. And then the mortgage payment on this, including taxes and insurance, is about $600. So my cash flow on this per month is about $643, which is really incredible. But I think that just to point out to anyone, that's after 7 years of rent growth. So if someone that's looking to buy a property today, they're not going to make $643 in cash flow, right?
No, because your first year, your net was only $9,300,
right?
And so as rents go up, your mortgage stays the same, minus taxes and insurance, of course. Your cash flow goes up.
Yeah, your first year is your worst year, even though it's a fun year. And I mean, I love being able to see like you've grossed $87,000 in cash flow on your $88,000 purchase, and you've netted $71,231 before your mortgage, but after expenses as far as management and rent. So
yeah, so it's a great long-term investment. So I think anyone that's going into this, don't buy a property thinking you're going to make a fortune on day one, but over time, these properties really do perform. I've had a great experience with you guys, I want to thank you guys for helping me invest in Memphis. And I think everything has really worked out great.
Thank you, Dan.
Dan, we're so grateful to work with you all these years and on multiple purchases too. Thank you.
If you're interested in learning more, their website is midsouthhomebuyers.com. And if anyone wants to talk to Liz with any follow-up questions, I've got her email address on the website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 491. I'd like to thank Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking to buy a rental property, whether you're just getting started or you want to add to your portfolio, reach out to Chaley. She's a nationwide lender. She has a ton of different loan programs, and she can find something that'll work for you in your situation. If you want to find out more or you want to set up a time to talk to Chaley personally, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. Make sure you hit that follow button and you'll get notified every single Tuesday when I put out a new episode. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.